Good evening. I'd like to call to order the meeting for Bedford Township for July 6, 2021. Please stand for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
At this time, if Pastor Steve Hobbins with State Line Christian Community Church could come on up. Open us up in prayer. Good to see you.
We just celebrated our freedom, and we get to exercise some of those now. So let's pray. Father, thank you so much for the opportunity to start off a time of recognition of you with prayer and thanking you for your guidance. We do ask for that. These decisions are very important to us, and we don't take any of them lightly. And we ask that you would guide our hearts and minds towards you and making wise decisions. We ask for this wisdom now in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Okay, at this time, number 2 is approval of the agenda. Any changes?
Motion to approve the agenda is submitted.
Support. Okay, motion and support by Mr. Gore. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Item 3, the consent agenda. The agenda committee recommends to A, approve and place on file the minutes of the June 15th, 2021 regular meeting of the Bedford Township Board. Look for a motion.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Support.
Okay, motion and support of Mr. Bruning. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Under presentations, we have Bedford Township Sheriff Deputy of the Year, Deputy Ken Dodds. Ms. Hirschberger.
Everyone can see you. So we'd like to honor you with a resolution. Whereas Deputy Ken Dodds, a Monroe County Deputy Sheriff, was assigned to the Bedford Township Substation of the Monroe County Sheriff's Department, and whereas the Bedford Township Board, on behalf of the citizens of Bedford Township, deeply and sincerely appreciate the efforts of Deputy Ken Dodds, who, in cooperation with other members of the Monroe County Sheriff's Department, is actively engaged in searching out and finding criminals who prey upon the citizens of Bedford Township, and who consistently works to assure the community is safe and secure. And whereas Deputy Ken Dodds was a 2014 Rochester Adams High School graduate, attended Oakland Community College earning a degree in criminal justice, and was selected to attend and complete the Oakland Police Academy in 2017. And whereas he served the Monroe County Sheriff in the capacity of a Bedford contracted deputy officer from 2017 through April of 2021, and was charged with the duty of field training officer, where he was responsible for training newly hired deputy sheriffs. And whereas Deputy Ken Dodds, due to his thorough and complete investigation of the high-profile complaints, helped the Monroe County Prosecutor's Office to obtain a guilty conviction of several felony criminal sexual conduct charges. And now, therefore, be it resolved that upon review and consideration, and with deep appreciation from and on behalf of the citizens of Bedford Township, the Bedford Township Board hereby designates Deputy Ken Dodds as Bedford Township Sheriff Deputy of the Year, and declares July 6, 2021 as Deputy Ken Dodds Day in Bedford Township, granting all prerogatives and privileges attendant thereto.
Thank you, Ken. Want to get a quick picture with us?
Good job, Don. You too.
Congratulations.
Chief, do you mind getting a picture real quick? Joe, stay with me. Sorry.
Yeah, this was the chairs out.
Yesterday.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I didn't mean to bump into you. Nope, you're fine.
Okay. Thank you for all you do. We really do appreciate you and your service. Okay, moving on to public comment. Comments, oh, sorry, 4B, Sheriff Troy Goodenough. We're going to get an update from him.
Well, thank you. If you recall, last year I said that our plan under my guidance for the sheriff's office that we would do our very best to be here at your in-person board meetings for a number of reasons. One, to present your monthly stats for the previous month, but more importantly, to maybe field any questions that you have or the audience as to operations at the sheriff's office and comments of maybe what we can do better and what we're doing well if somebody feels obligated to let us know. So if you don't mind, I'll just start out with the stats. And I know they came out late with the holiday and everybody had to scramble around to get those put together this morning. It becomes a monumental task, being this is the biggest contract that we have. So there is one note. We had one deputy sheriff's log that worked the other night that had been sent back for corrections. So that information is not included here. It's not a big deal, but I just wanted you to be aware of that. So I'll just kind of briefly go through the stats. Your contract deputies for the month of June handled 502 complaints for service. 42 additional complaints were handled by your general fund deputies, which is what the county supplies. And I'll kind of break them down like that, just so you kind of have an idea of the ratio of calls for service that are being handled by your 10 contract deputies versus the calls for service handled by, again, the general funded deputies. Your deputies handled 48 supplements, 21 additional supplements by the general fund. Assist, 222, and 60 by the general fund. Now, an assist is basically you have an officer that will respond to a call for service, and maybe there'll be a second car respond as backup or additional services. So it could be very well that there was two Bedford cars on the same call, depending again on the level of severity of the call for service. Paper services, as you know, we've been shut down the courts so paper service is significantly lower. I think within a year you're going to see those triple-digit numbers as things pick up. Traffic stops, 307 versus 39 by general funded. Now, I think you probably saw your data historically. I don't think you had anything close to that. So, again, under our leadership, we're promoting proactive law enforcement. Traffic crashes, 43 by your contract, 3 by general fund. Citations, 73, 30 additional citations issued by your general fund deputies. Arrests, 15 and 1 and 39 and 4 on warrant requests. So again, the officers down here assigned to the Bedford contract, as well as the non-contract officers, remain very active. One of the biggest hurdles that we face is traffic complaints. But that's not just unique to Bedford Township. That's all over the county. The undersheriff and I probably there's some weeks we receive 3 traffic complaints a day. And then there's days that we'll only get 3 a week. But that seems to be our biggest hurdle right now. As I'm sure you're well aware, we've had a lot of major crimes in the county, but I'm happy to report those major crimes, we have suspects in custody. In the next coming months, you're going to hear some proactive details that we're going to be concentrating on, and I'll keep you apprised of those. One of those will probably more than likely involve an area in Bedford Township. I don't want to get into any details, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised or happy when we are able to carry out our mission on that particular task. So that's all I have as it relates to the stats. I know Supervisor Peroni, I did send a letter in relationship to some speed signs. I don't know when would be the appropriate time to address that.
Okay. That would be the DDA board, but just to bring, the speed signs for Lewis.
Yes,
This
the
board
letter that, and
hasn't
again,
really-
my apologies for that letter going out today.
Yeah.
It was just, there was a bunch of other things that kind of led to something.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't, after you spoke the one meeting, I've heard no discussion on it. I'm not sure where the board is at, if they want me to look into it further as far as something we'd like to look at. We're putting 3 speed signs in the DDA, the Downtown Development Authority, to slow traffic down. So if that's something we want to look at for Lewis Ave, he's,
And I base my recommendation on just what we're getting from calls for citizens that have concerns about traffic in those 3 areas. And we hope to have had the DDA signs installed before now. Unfortunately, we found that all the other communities that we spoke with never did a shear analysis on the poles they used to support those signs. And that was my first question, is what's the shear data? And it literally took the road commission 10 days to find a vendor that could supply us shear data. And basically what that says is anytime that you put a permanent fixture within the road right-of-way, you have to be able to determine what shears that off for vehicle safety. And that was a monumental task. Matter of fact, the city of Monroe, I thought it was going to be pretty easy, right? I used one of them as my reference, and I called Pat Lewis, and I say, hey, Pat, can I get the shear data on that pole? Called me back a couple hours later. He said, I'd sure like to give it to you, but we didn't even do that. We dropped the, and they say, they missed it, right? But hopefully nothing happens with a vehicle striking that. It could become a serious issue. So we wanted to make sure that we did our due diligence so that we shield Bedford Township from liability in the event something happens. So the poles are ordered. I'm hoping we'll get them in relatively soon.
well, I could tell you the knocking on business doors has been a huge success. I've gotten multiple calls from business owners just thanking you guys for that, just checking in on them.
Yep.
The traffic stops, has been a big change. So we've gotten a lot of positive feedback from the residents. Hopefully the speed signs are going to be something that can slow traffic down. Are you concerned, I know Mr. Stein has brought it up in the past, and we received an email with golf carts in neighborhoods. Can you touch on that a little bit? Because, I do live in a neighborhood, and we do have lots of golf carts, and kids are on them, and,
We do, and some communities in our county, Luna Pier, the city of Petersburg, have all passed an ordinance to allow those golf carts on the roadway.
when you say roadway, do you mean the main roads?
Public roadway. Oh, yeah. They can
Without,
ride right,
with plates?
no.
No plates?
No, they can ride right down Harold Drive in the city of Luna Pier or Main Street in the city of Petersburg. They're allowed to do that under ordinance. Yeah.
Wait for a golf cart versus car accident. That
Pardon
would
me?
be great.
Yeah, and it is a concern for us, and if we receive complaints, we'll respond accordingly. If the officers see them, my biggest concern is the age of the individuals operating them. We don't give them a driver's license, and I'm not going to get into why, but but yet we're letting a 12 or a 10-year-old individual operate a golf cart, which is just as dangerous when you get out on that public roadway or in subdivisions, maybe still private. I don't know if you have any of those in the township. I doubt you do, but, yeah, it's a concern of ours. I can tell you that they outline the rural areas, it's ATVs on the roadway. And it's, do you chase them? Do you try to stop them? Then you get into a pursuit with them. And I can tell you that my goal is to send out a survey. I'm going to partner with the community college to see, as sheriff, I have the authority to petition the Board of Commissioners to basically make ORV road legal, similar to them in northern Michigan. And you'd be amazed at the number of people that ask me about that. So we're contemplating, as I said, in our partnership with the community college, is conducting a survey. What does the community want? And go from there.
I could see neighborhoods, maybe, but golly, down Lewis Avenue or Stearns Road, that'd be insane.
Right.
Stearns and Seacorn.
But you'd be surprised at the people that call. I mean, and again, not so much in Bedford about the ORVs as I have the golf. We do frequent some golf carts. I know Lewis and Temperance was a communication that we received, and we've directed our officers. As you know, or you may not know, we do our best to assign a car in Temperance doing traffic enforcement every day. It just sometimes calls for service don't allow us to be there as long as we would like, as well as Samaria Road. So,
Mr. Steiner?
You talked about the traffic stops and talked about working with DDA on speed signs, and Mr. Peroni just mentioned Lewis Avenue. Granted, you've got a lot of stats here, but do you also track it by, say, is Lewis Avenue the worst area for speed when you have the traffic stops? Is it Secor Road? Is it Stearns Road? Do you have that down to that level?
So one of the things that you may have heard me talk about, or others, that we're implementing a new CAD and record management system that's set to go live on September 21st. Our current software does not allow us to pull that data out of it. Now, I can run a report on traffic tickets issued and say, where are we seeing that trend? But again, traffic tickets aren't always a good barometer for us to use, because they may stop 15 cars and only issue one traffic citation. Whereas under this new software, I'll be able to pull that data for traffic stops, and then we can mine additional data out of that. And that's why we're going to a new CAD records management system. And if you recall, you heard me talk about predictability analysis and crime analysis that we'll be able to do with this software as well. The go-live date, September 21st.
So maybe that's the time we look at, do we want to look into more speed enforcement?
Yeah, we can
signs
see
or
how it
whatever.
works for a year in the DDA and then
Yeah,
look at
and then
Lewis.
One of the nice things that I think it's important to point out with these speed signs is they do record a lot of traffic data. So now, if you have someone that says, hey, the speed limit on this road I think needs to be looked at, the road commission will conduct a study, and the speed analysis is based on what they call the 85th percentile. I'm sure you've heard that. These signs will capture all that traffic data, the number of cars per day, the volume of cars per week, month, whatever parameters you want to pull that data, the average speed, and when the highest violations occur. And that's where we would use it as a tool to say, even though we're here, when are we seeing the highest violation rate, and then we could deploy our resources accordingly.
And then the only other thing is, I've had various comments through the community of police presence. People see the cars more, and also some good comments on weekend staffing. So kudos for that, because it is, people are noticing.
And we're still down. We're down 9 deputy sheriffs. So we've got 6 in training, 3 more start the academy Friday, and we have 5 retirements next year that we've obtained approval to hire and train now, so that we'll get ahead of that curve. So hopefully it'll only improve, and I'm confident that it will. Visibility reduces criminal activity. I always tell everybody, you drive down the road, and it doesn't matter what your speed is. If you see that patrol car either with their lights on or with their lights off, what's the first thing you do? You touch your brake and you look at your speedometer. So it's effective. It's effective. So.
I'll drive an ordinance car to meetings, and I see it just being in an ordinance car.
Oh, yeah.
People drive way under the speed limit, but. So very cool. Any more comments or questions?
But again, we just encourage everybody, if there's an issue in a neighborhood with golf carts, please send us an email, and I tell the citizens, go to tell the sheriff. We answer that every day, and you'd be surprised what we get. And that's how we can respond to situations.
And as you said, being one of your largest contract, thank you for focusing down here. It's been long overdue.
Very cool. Thank
Okay.
you, Troy. Appreciate it.
Well,
Are you
thank you.
sticking around for
Yeah,
the
I'm going to
floor?
be here. Absolutely. So if somebody has any questions or anything outside, I'm here.
Okay,
Thank you.
cool.
Thank you.
Up next is public comment. Comments limited to 5 minutes for board agenda items only. Any public comment? Okay, seeing none, moving on to vouchers for payment. Ms. Hirschberger?
I'd like to make a motion that the following vouchers be approved for payment. General Fund, $52,982.86. Fire District, $30,682.79. Police Fund, $16,531.07. Park Operating Fund, $14,369.74. Fire Equipment, $22,919.45. Library Operating Fund, $5,929.56. Springbrook SAD, $753.50. Downtown Development Authority, $4,649.72. Sewer O&M Fund, $2,000.35. Trust and Agency Fund, $23,666.64, for a grand total of $174,485.68.
Support.
Okay, motion is supported by Ms. Janazek. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Janadisek?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Item 8B, resolution approving the Monroe County Water Supply System Improvement Contract. Mr. Smith, come on up. Appreciate you being here.
So South County Water is looking to put in, kind of tie our loops in on our system. So we're looking to put almost 17 and a half miles of water line in certain areas to tie all these loops in. We have a bunch of dead ends that get them all tied in. Kind of look at it as our system is kind of like a Christmas tree, kind of. We got
Sir, could you come
You got to
closer
come up to the mic.
Sorry about that. So
You
our-
can still use your hands.
I talk with my hands a lot. So our system's kind of like a Christmas tree. We got some areas that we have, they're dead ends, and we need the water to be looped over to them. So when we have a main break, we're not being able to feed it. So we want to be able to take bottom of our portion, be able to feed our top portion of our system. So we're coming to you guys. We need a resolution to be approved. The bonding is $19.3 million. We'll bond it through South County Water, through the Monroe County Drain Commission, to be able to do this project.
Just so the board knows, this is something that all participants in the county have to sign the resolution.
It goes back to, South County Water was formed by Bedford Township, Erie Township, LaSalle Township, and the city of Luna Pier. So this was formed back in 1969 underneath the Act 342 of 1939. So anytime South County Water goes to bond, we have to have the approval of the townships who formed South County Water system. Correct? This is our bond attorney.
Good evening, Jeff Aronoff from Miller Canfield, bond counsel to the county and also the participating units. Chris had it right. This is an issuance through the county, but as you say, all of the participating local units have to approve a contract. Each has to approve a contract between, in this case, the township and the county to issue the bonds. Happy to answer any questions about the proceedings. One thing I'll mention, Chris mentioned $19.3 million, but you'll see that your resolution and the contract is limited to $19 million. That extra $300,000 or so is going to be financed, I think, from funds on hand of South County Water. And of course, Bedford Township has about a 76.6% share of the bond issue. The relative shares of each of the participating units is based on the users within each community.
Can you guys touch on how important it is to close loops, and with areas in our community that don't have clean water, that are on wells, and eventually, if the wells continue to be bad, the state doesn't have to let you re-drill them. I mean, they could force you at some point to run water,
Correct.
which at that point could be a whole different ballgame. So could you
what-
touch on that? Come close to the mic.
So one of our we call it the big loop, is we're going to finish up going all the way down Lewis Avenue up into Samaria and come all the way across 151 to Secor Road, back down to Schoolhouse Commons. That's where our other 16-inch water main lays, and tie that whole loop in. And it's a redundancy, so we can move the water around. If something happens down Lewis Avenue, something happens over in Secor, we can move it around, water the other way. Samaria water up there's some sites that are not very good. So we're looking to develop the whole system up there, the whole little town of Samaria. That's one of them. The other loop is over off Section Road. They finished all the way down Section Road from between Secor and Wyford Center to bring it back over into Little Streams and tied it in over on Smith Road. Reason with Little Streams is it's only one line going into Little Streams that goes through the cemetery. So anytime we have a break on Stearns Road over by Adler, we're shutting 400 to 600 homes off. And the system is getting older. So, I mean, there are certain areas that we do need some, redundancy that we can move water around and get it to them without being without water.
And plus, the more users, the better.
Oh, the more usage, the better. I mean, this wasn't our whole thing to tie, get more customers. Of course, we are going to pick up more customers.
Well, how many do you have signed up already?
We have close to 200. There's possible out of 1,000. And a lot more goes once they start seeing equipment out and about, they start seeing us doing the project. There'll be more coming at us with the water. We
Plus, Bedford Township has stopped collecting tap-in fees. Obviously, this board was aware of that from a year and a half ago.
Correct.
So it's cleaned up now with this big project. They're just charging the tap-in fee for the whole system as a whole.
Correct, and the tap-in fee is $52.95, which we will also finance through South County Water at a 1.4% interest rate. So it's about 9.4 years to pay off. It's about $50 a month is what it is on their bill, if they cannot pay the tap fee right up front.
Any questions from board members? Comments? I think we touched pretty much everything. Oh, Ms. Janet?
Chris, can you explain to, and I don't know if the rest of the board members have questions, but Trudy, myself, and Paul, we called Tim
Correct.
Zergo a couple weeks ago because we wanted clarification with this document. Because when you look at it, it looks like the township is paying 76%. I know that you are not because it's the bonds. Can you explain to them, or everyone, why it says that and when we would be responsible for paying any of that? Just to clear up any questions if anybody has anything.
Sure.
Thank you.
So when the bonds are sold to the public markets, right, they're sold into the capital markets, public offering. What the bondholders look at is what's my security? What's protecting my investment? If things don't go well, what is ultimately on the hook? Like when you do a mortgage, it's your house that secures the investment, right? So bondholders look to determine what the security is. In the case of a bond issue through Act 342, the security for that investment is two levels, really. It's the full faith and credit of each of the participating local units. And so in the case of Bedford Township, that's this contract. That's how that full faith and credit pledge that puts you on the hook, but we'll get to that in a minute, puts you on the hook for the 76 and change percent, and then all of the three other units, their proportional share. And then backing that is the county's full faith and credit for the whole thing. So when I look at my prospectus on Wall Street and I'm buying these bonds, that's what I see. But layered over all of that are rates and charges. These will actually be paid out of rates that are just charged universally and uniformly to all users of the system. Even though that's not what Wall Street, let's call it, sees when they buy the bonds, they buy this backing of each of the units and of the county. The actual source of payment is going to be the $6.65 rate increase that will be applied to every user regardless of which municipality they fall into. So this on the hook notion that's sort of set up in this contract that is the subject of this resolution is really that full faith and credit pledge of the township, even though the expectation is that would never actually be drawn on.
And that's users. That's not the public as a whole. That's
Just
if
users.
you have a well, you're not going to pay that. And that's $6.65 a month additional to your bill,
Correct, that's, and what we.
no matter what the usage is.
Correct, and we had a rate guy, John Kozar for Municipal Analytic out of Ann Arbor, go through a rate study on all of our stuff. So he did, it's very conservative. We did it at 2.75%, and the number we come up with $6.65. Well, right now the bonds are trading right around 1.6 to 1.8%. We could come in lower. You know, bond rates are real low right now.
Okay. Any more comments, questions? Mr. Gore?
Reference the tap-in fee. Can they opt out of that, folks who stay on their wells, or are they going to be forced to tap in?
No, they can opt out. They can opt out, and they can tie in the future at any time. So it's not a one-time, chance. It can happen in the future that they would like to tie in maybe a new owner or so.
Okay. And just so residents understand, and South County Water won't like to hear this, but you can untap from your water supply now and drill a well.
Correct.
You don't have to be on city water. That's your option, even if you're in the neighborhood.
I like my city water.
Oh, I know. I'm just saying. A lot of people don't realize that. Mr. Montre?
What's the length of the 665?
Up to 20 years. We're looking to pay it off quicker. Depends how many people get tap in, and what the rates are. That's the whole scenario to the end when the bonds get sold. We'll know the exact.
Any more comments or questions, board members?
665 a month or 665 because
It's 6
water bills are going, what, 3 months now?
They're quarterly.
Quarterly?
Correct.
So-
There's-
Water bills
I mean,
are monthly.
monthly, excuse me, sewer monthly.
Water bills are monthly, sewer
Monthly.
bills are quarterly.
Correct, so
Well, they
665
switched.
monthly.
Yeah. Okay.
It comes out to just a little under $1,600 per customer over a 20-year period.
So if you would like to stop growth in Bedford, now would be the time to vote no. Because with the water line, you will see growth in Bedford. So,
More of your sewer drives than anything, drives your economic more than anything else, sewer expansion does. This is basically our reliability. It was in our study done 20 years ago with the state. Eagle made us do a reliability study to show where our weak points was in the system. And these are our weak points that we are going after to get it done. We got the contract with the City of Toledo, that's why it wasn't done any earlier. We need to get that contract taken care of first before we go do other things.
yeah. Just as far as the neighborhood goes, the city water lines help quite a
Oh, it
bit.
helps, correct. No, I'm not gonna say it's a
Yeah,
deterrent,
so-
no, but it,
Yeah. Okay. All right, I look for a motion.
Make a motion, a resolution approving the Monroe County Water Supply System Improvement Contract.
Okay, supported. Any more discussion?
I would just like a lot more detail and a lot more than fixing, like, closing up loops. I would like a lot more, like, I feel like this is a bigger decision than it's being treated like it is.
What
As far
questions-
as-
What
well,
questions do you have?
I don't
What's
know.
your thoughts?
A lot more, like, just how this is overall presented, $19 million, and adding $7 to your water bill a month for the next 20 years. Just seems like, I don't know, it's not nothing.
Okay. Any more thoughts or questions?
I need to know who seconded.
I support.
Okay, you support, okay.
Okay, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Gore,
Aye.
Mr. Peroni,
Aye.
Mr. Steiner,
Aye.
Mr. Bruning,
Aye.
Mr. Montry,
Nay.
Ms. Jandisek.
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye.
And the motion passed 6-1. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you guys don't mind, I'd like to move F up next, so for respect of Mr. Goodenough's time. You sure? We can do it now. All right, all right. 8C, resolution to authorize Consumers Energy to replace the street light at the intersection of Stearns and Douglas at US 24 and Stearns and at Jackman and Smith Road. Ms. Hirschberger?
I'm going to make this easy. These are exactly like we did before, no cost. It's a take it out, put it back. So my first motion is to approve the authorization for change in the standard lighting contract number 10000289585 dated 12/1/2015 and contract number 1030219767727 dated February 16, 2016 as presented.
Support.
Okay, motion and support of Ms. Janazek. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolutions authorizing Consumers Energy Company to make changes in the lighting service provided in the standard lighting contract to remove lights at the intersections of Secor and Douglas, US 24 and Stearns, and Jackman and Smith Road at no cost as presented.
Support.
Okay, motion and support of Ms. Janazek. Discussion? Seeing none.
I think he said Secor and Douglas. It should be Stearns.
Stearns.
Stearns and Douglas.
Okay, could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Jandisek?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0.
Make a motion to approve the resolutions authorizing Consumers Energy Company to make changes in the lighting service provided in the standard lighting contract to install new lights at the intersection of Stearns and Douglas, US 24 and Stearns, Jackman and Smith, at no cost as presented.
Support.
Okay, motion and support of Ms. Janazak. Discussion? Seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Hirschberger votes aye. Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Montry?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Prony?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Okay. Moving on to 8D, bid opening for carpeting and interior modifications at the Bedford Branch Library. Ms. Hirschberger?
I think Harry's here to, did you want to
You come on up.
present? Okay. At their June 21st meeting, the Library Advisory Board unanimously voted to recommend that the Township Board accept Library Design Associates' bid for the carpeting and modification project at the Bedford Library. They also accept $2,000 for the performance bond from Library Design Associates, should the township request that. And then their bids are enclosed with the bid packages. I don't know if Craig has any more
Why
on
don't you come on
this.
up? We're going to have questions for you. Appreciate it.
It was sent to 7 different companies. Unfortunately, not all did present bids for it.
Harry, how big of a difference do you feel like it is right now with rising cost of materials and everything we have that's changing the price?
I don't know. We estimated $1.25 million for this job.
Okay. I'm just curious, if we waited a year, how much it would change. I mean, I can't imagine, so. Did you have a question, Mr. Matra?
I haven't got that crystal ball.
Okay.
I don't know what other board members' opinions are of it. I've been pretty consistent with mine. I just don't know, and I can allude to my thoughts overall, unless anyone else has an opinion on when we put this out. We put it out as, well, let's put it out for bid and take a look and see what comes back. So,
Well, if we're looking at the bids, between the two of them, I mean, the library design, I think it was a good recommendation because the speaker company does not have in here removal of any of the furniture or books or anything like that. That's a big job. That's not something the maintenance department can handle.
And they were told that was part of the bid,
Yeah, so that's
move the books.
that's a massive job. I would assume, to hire that out, you're looking at $40,000+ for something like that. I wouldn't know unless I put it out for bid, but, so I think between the two, the library design is a good recommendation between the two, but as far as the project as a whole,
Yeah.
You said it's a total different.
it's just a totally different situation. So I don't know if anyone, I can go into
Go ahead.
my views or whatever. unless
you
anybody
sit on the
else
board.
has. So, I guess, like I said, I've been consistent with my apprehensions toward the entirety of this project, carpeting being specific, from basically as long as I can remember, as long as it's been an issue or anything. And my biggest reason for that is what I believe was communicated to the township board and to township residents when this millage was presented for a vote. And I don't believe that it was sold to the citizenry or this board that it would be a $250,000 ticket to carpet the library. It was, I just don't even think that's the bulk of this entire millage, for a 5-year millage, to be for carpeting. I don't think that was the perception that was given to the voters. So with that, I don't think that it is appropriate to spend that kind of money to do that job if that's not, I don't think it was communicated that way.
Well, let's take that out because it was presented to maintain the building, in whatever fashion we believe, chiller, landscaping, tree removal. If we want to put solar on the roof, I mean, we could do kind of what the
Yeah.
board thought was best. So what does the board think of putting
Well,
in carpet?
with that,
Outside
though-
of whether or not we told, it was communicated to the residents exactly,
Well, how it was
carpet or not.
how it was communicated was it
May I
was
answer
to
that?
be.
Hold on, we'll
May I
get
answer
you.
that question?
Hold on, just give us 1 minute. I'll call him.
How it was communicated was as a safety issue. Carpeting was viewed as a safety issue and presented as a safety issue to this board and to the residents, that you're going to fix and replace like tattered carpet here and there, not you're going to be replacing, you're going to spend $200,000 carpeting the library. So that's how it was communicated. That's how it was communicated to this board initially, to even, which I was, not this board specifically, but this board as a body in whatever, 2018, it was presented as a $25,000 piece of the overall puzzle, which I don't think was malicious or intentionally deceitful. I think it was the kind of thing that I don't think they knew what it was going to cost to do the job, and then after getting some estimates, realized it's going to be way, 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 way more than what we thought it was going to be. Another thing that was communicated and part of the sell for the millage was how the last millage was treated, which was 6 years plus the life of the millage to operate the library. That was part of, look at how we've treated millage money in the past. You can trust us to do it again. And spending this kind of money on this project, which was actually broken up into 4 projects until this, which I understand it's trying to get the project done as a whole. You're trying to get, well, if we're doing that, we got to do this, and kind of lumping it all together makes it a little bit easier. But how it's been presented and planned up until now was presented as 4 separate projects, and it just is, I don't know, it is what it is. But
Mr. Steiner?
Well, first off, and maybe just choice words, I never like to say that anybody sold this to anybody. Communicated. Nobody, I don't think, sold anything to the community at all. It was communicated to the community. So, and Mr. Lammers, he knows as well as anybody, this has been projected over phases, so much per year. Your total millage, so my question to you, and I know the answers, my question so the public knows, are you over budget?
No,
no, we're
Are
very,
you
very
within
under
your
budget.
we're way under.
We're
budget.
very, very under
Can
budget.
I'm directing to Mr. Lammers, please.
This carpeting was included in the estimate to come up with the millage. The people were notified that this carpeting was part of the millage in the letters that were sent out and the flyers that were sent out. The reason the millage language in the millage did not state that was because that millage language was duplicated from the millage before. And that way, no lawyer's fees or no reproductions had to go into determining if that millage language was correct. That's why it was done. But all the flyers, one of the top items was replace the carpeting.
So what I'm going to is, your plan has all these different phases, which you've laid out clearly, says what, I mean, this is my opinion, so everybody can have their own opinion. My opinion was that this is what the library board laid out. This is included within your budget. The advisory board, as your job, comes to us and says, this is what we have on the projects. This board and previous boards have looked at it. We've said, yes, this makes sense, you're within your millage, and you proceed to continue down that path. And of course, you have to now come to us each time you want to spend that money. Now, if you were, saying, well, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be $50,000 over my budget here, or the millage, I should say, Or, we're talking about a chiller too, and that's going to put us way the heck over budget and all this. So far, the recommendations that you're coming to this board with are within your budgetary guidelines. And I'm not saying just because you got money, that means we have to automatically spend it. Of course not.
Yeah.
But you're also looking at the long term of this library. Sooner or later, all this is going to have to be done. And Mr. Proney asked the question earlier, does it make sense? What about current day costs? Because there's so many things have gone up recently in supplies. Honestly, by 2022 this time, just various things I've seen in the economy and the trades, transportation, et cetera, supply chain overall, I don't see a lot of things coming down in the near future. You may come down a little bit here and there, but every project, you can find a bidder over here says, well, I can cut some cost here, and another bidder says, well, I can cut over here. Anybody can do anything in a given day with one individual on one little project, but this is not little. This is long-term thinking. So I think I've, stated my case to agree with what this Library Advisory Board has presented to us, and I'll defer to anybody else that wants to make comment.
One clarification, the chiller was not part of the original millage proposal to the community.
And that's an issue. That's just an issue that.
That's the issue that came up, and the Library Advisory Board feels that with the present monies, we can cover it.
And again, within your budget.
It would be within our budget.
And you've added a major project and still staying within your budget.
Yes.
Thank you.
Mr. Montre? Were you first, Mr. Gore? Go ahead.
No. The chiller is actually a major contention of mine as well, that I think I've been saying for a long time. We shouldn't even be looking at the carpeting until that chiller is replaced. That chiller is not something that came up. Chiller was mentioned and in original documentation when putting together this millage and getting it passed through this board to get onto a ballot. It was already understood that it was past its lifetime. It's stated in previous meetings, it's stated in the meeting that it was presented to this board, and it's in the document that was presented to this board to put it on the ballot in the beginning. That it's past its life, and it's something that we know we're going to have to deal with, and it's something that myself, and I know the supervisor's been vocal about that as well, that why are you putting, if that, how hot has it been the last couple of days? If that chiller goes out, you look pretty stupid when you have nice carpet and you haven't replaced your chiller that you've known for 2 years that it needs replacing. It's just foolish. So it is another reason that until that's done, there's no way I support getting new carpet put in the library until that is completed.
Mr. Gore?
It's been brought up that the Library Advisory Board wants to spend over $200,000 on carpet, when really it's only $132.46, and the modifications are the other half of that $245. So as long as it's within the budget, as long as it's within the scope of the millage, and you're under budget, then I don't see an issue with it, and I think we need to move forward with it.
I can speak to that. So there's been a lot of different budgets presented to this board throughout the last couple of years, and the initial number when this was brought to this board to be put on the ballot was $25,000 for main carpeting, $10,000 for children's carpeting. That ended up changing after the ballot passed, and they got a more accurate bid or what's the word?
Estimate.
Another estimate from like that. Then it was 2000. It was 207. That's what I'm quoting. It's been 2007 or 207,000 for like the rest of the estimates that we've gotten since then. So this coming in, I would agree. Like it definitely came in way less than that last estimate, but it's still $100,000 over what was actually presented. And I would argue that it was not treated as like the main item in getting in this millage passing. I have the literature that was used to get the millage to pass, and it's safety. Second one down, replace worn and stained carpeting, right next to repair broken floor tiles. It was not treated as the overwhelming bulk of the millage. It never,
He's
it never
correct
had
in
been.
saying that. I mean, wasn't presented as, hey, we're replacing all the carpet and doing this big job. It was that. We have been extremely frugal with getting volunteers for sidewalks, getting creative with the panels and saving lots of monies on lighting bills.
LED
And
lights, yeah.
we've done a lot of stuff there, a lot of volunteer work. So yeah, we've they've been very good. The board has about being competitive with quotes, and there's been a lot of millage money saved.
I would add with that, Joe, going back to, and I'm a little, because I agree, it came in way under, it's not $250,000 just for carpet. I would agree with that. And I think so initially, the reconfiguration and then the study area had been treated as two separate jobs through the entirety of this as well. Reconfig for $30,000 and an added study room for $25,000. So that would be $55,000 for those two jobs, which are now $112,000. So again, it's just it is what it is, and I think that, like, obviously this board has to make a decision on what do you want to do. It kind of like, well, that kind of sucks and you got to do it, or but my apprehension is the part of this being, this millage passing, is our last millage was in 2002 and expired in 2012. Funds generated lasted an additional 6 years until 2018 through judicious planning and careful spending by the Township's Library Advisory Board. You spending this kind of money in your 2 years of operating the library. So that's where, if that makes sense, it's like you have a major trade-off in that part of this is, part of that millage is to pay for the operations, daily operations of the library, and you're cutting 2 years of that off by doing this job like this. So it's like, all right, so what do? I think the children's room, like the children's area, I think the whole thing needs new carpeting. I would agree fully with that. I don't believe that the entire library needs new carpeting.
Harry, how long ago was it center aisle was replaced? Is that
I'm not sure.
6 years?
I'm not sure. We're not replacing that section of the carpeting at all.
So that is staying.
Yeah,
That's
staying.
staying. It's the two wings and the children's library are being replaced, and also in the conference rooms. And what we're adding is 2 study halls, 2 study rooms.
Part of the problem is that it should have never been rolled carpet from the beginning. It should have been tiled commercial carpet. And I don't know why there was ever rolled carpet put into a commercial
Now,
library. I
the
mean,
seams are giving away.
yeah, I mean, it's with tiles. I mean, this was done 15 years ago. You got tiles, you replace the tile when it goes bad. You can't do that to the library. So I don't know if you guys have looked at replacing all the bad seamed areas, or if that's even an option. I mean, Craig's right. The majority of the library's carpet is decent. I mean, I've walked it multiple times, but there are areas that are bad and worn. If it was my home, I wouldn't replace it all. I would, but it's not my home. It's a library that's going to be around for another 100 years. So I do agree with,
And-
we need to put good stuff in it, but it's a tough decision for me.
We can do both the chiller and the carpeting. The chiller goes outside the library building, carpeting goes inside the library building, so the two aren't connected at all.
Okay.
And if we do both of them at the same time, if we do both of them, we will still
Be under
have
budget.
a few $100,000 left in the budget.
Okay, I look for a motion, unless we have any more discussion.
I make a motion that we accept the bid for Library Design Associates as requested by the Library Advisory Board for the amount of $245,118.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a support?
Support.
Okay, motion and supported by Mr. Gore. Any more discussion, Mr. Steiner?
Just a quick question. Does anyone feel any need to add the performance bond? I know it's an extra $2,000, but do we need a performance bond on this?
Might as well tack it on.
I mean, I don't want to just blow money, but I really think a performance bond is very important here.
I'm fine with that, I'll add that.
Friendly amendment?
Friendly
Yes.
amendment.
Good with that, Mr. Gore?
I'm good with that.
Okay. Okay, any more discussion? Okay, seeing none, could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
No, and I want the record to show that my no vote was because I don't believe this is what was presented to the taxpayers.
Ms. Janusik?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
No, and the motion passed 5-2. Harry, thank you guys for all your hard work and everything you're doing. Appreciate it. Okay, moving on to 8E, approval to put a request for the replacement installation of a chiller for the Bedford Branch Library out for bid. You again. Come on up.
The Library Advisory Board ended up writing the spec themselves. We took the carrier spec that Rawlings had passed on to us, and we made some changes to it. Rawlings spec had the chiller from anywhere from 60 to 160 tons, I guess. So we limited it to 80 tons. We also put in a statement about hydroing any lines that they may tear apart. And we also added the fact that we wanted to start up engineer from the manufacturer there when we start up the unit. And any place in the spec where it called for a carrier representatives, we changed it to a manufacturer's representative.
So with the 80-ton, where did you get that number?
The existing is rated for 75 tons. It really runs at around 73 tons, and now they make them in even tonnage.
So you're just replacing the same tonnage,
So
pretty much.
we are replacing.
And
the
that's
system.
something you feel is, that would be appropriate in the library?
Yes.
I'm just wondering why Rawlings had it to 160.
It's if you go on the internet and you go to Carrier and you ask them for their specs on a chiller, you can pull up their specs. They're divided in sections. The one section is 60 to 160, I think it is. That's the way they write their specs.
Okay.
And then you have to specify which size you want.
Okay.
No, I take it back. It's from 60 to 300 tons.
Okay. Anybody have any comments or questions?
Is
Mr. Gore?
80 tons enough? Is it?
I don't know. That's why I
That's
had
why
Mr.
we're
Rawlings
replacing
write
it in kind. Rawlings, that's what Rawlings suggested.
You don't want to under replace it and in a few years have to come back.
Right.
I just want to make sure we're getting the right chiller for the building.
That's why I had Rawlings specs. Now, I don't, as far as what you guys did, it didn't sound like you changed anything major other than the carrier was the
Yeah, and I specified 80 tons.
But I can't answer that if the 80 is enough, Mr. Steiner.
How about the option, and you just change the request a little bit and ask for an 80 or 100 and give us both prices? And, 100 puts you up there quite a bit more.
Or do we put in there what's recommended?
Well, they may,
that
but
size
then,
of building.
but then if you got a recommendation, what if somebody does come back and say, oh, you only need a 70? Then we're underpricing her. So I think we need to say, well, or say a minimum of 80 or recommendation or something like that.
And obviously, 80's in there now, equivalent to. It's been in
Pretty
there
close.
how many years? 30? I mean, it's
No,
exceeded
18
its life.
18, 20?
But close to 20, I think.
20.
Close
I mean,
to
it's
18, 20, I think.
Is that what's in there now is an 80 ton?
I know that. Because,
70, but it's
75.
equivalent to the 80.
I know that because I got the approval, the approval for the existing one, because that's what I looked at. I pulled up the cut sheets for the existing one. And it was stamped when it was approved. And of course, I don't have it here. But I thought it was like 18 years.
Okay. Yeah, that would be my only concern with putting that number on it. I'm not sure. So. I think we could we approve the specs with the question to the tonnage to where we get, just another opinion on it, to where we could be for sure that we're putting out the proper tonnage? That way they don't have to come back to us, and if it is 80 will work, then we could just move forward, right?
So you want to ask for 80 or recommendation?
Yeah,
but
or
nothing less than
recommendation.
80.
Yeah, nothing less than 80.
So 80 or they, and again, they can make a recommendation, say, well, we think you should put it 90, but if it's, I'm going to be crazy. It's another $100,000. Well, if we can get 20 years out of an 80, then we better stick with 80,
Yeah.
But I think that's probably.
Or I'm
would
thinking,
work.
I mean, he could call a Rudolph Libby company and just say, hey, for a commercial sized building of this size, what would be
Right.
the recommendation from your engineering group? What tonnage, and they'd probably be able to look at the chart and tell you. They do it every day. So, okay. Look for a motion.
I'll make a motion for the request for proposal to replace and install the outdoor chiller at the Bedford Branch Library with the specifications that are listed and presented to us at a minimum of an 80-ton or a higher recommendation by the bidder.
Support.
Okay, motion in support of Mr. Bruning. Any more discussion? Okay, seeing none, could you call the roll,
Hold
please?
on. Is that the only thing that got changed from Rawlings spec?
The carrier, they changed it because it was a
Manufacturer's
carrier
rep.
spec, manufacturer's rep, so they changed that to
But that's it.
manufacturer's rep. That's what I heard.
And then I changed the requirement for a hydro.
Can you come on up to the mic again, please?
I changed the requirement for a hydro and also to have a startup person from the manufacturer's representative there when we start it up and make sure it's running correctly.
Explain what you mean, change from the hydro.
Normally, when you're working with piping and you cut pipe or you add pipe, you pressurize it to see if it leaks. And that's called a hydro.
Both of those are good, in my opinion. I would think you want both of those. Okay. I can't imagine that it doesn't show that in the original spec that we had from
The
Rawlings.
original spec says that the piping on the chiller is hydro in the factory. And
So
that's-
it's already hydro, so you're
it's
just
already
double checking
hydro.
it once it's
And that's
installed.
B31.1 requirements, which is like 1.5 times the design pressure.
Okay.
But usually when you put it all together,
You hydro it again.
you want to hydro it to make sure it's not leaking someplace else, or the joints aren't leaking, whatever.
You get damaging shipping too, shipping and handling.
Okay. Okay. Could you call the roll?
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Ms. Jandsek?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Prony?
Aye, and the motion passed 7-0. Item 8F, approval of a quote to replace the sheriff's substation floor. Sheriff Goodenough, if you'd like, come on up. I can handle most of it. So we have 3 quotes here. I just kind of left it up to the board. Couple things. Precision. It had on here originally the 10,006, so that was on bid to included the Cove base. So each one of these bids, the 7,500, 8,900, and the 6,942, are all 3 of those are just to just to install the floor, prep the floor, and install the epoxy flooring. It's epoxy flooring that's being installed. So each one of those. So that's the numbers you need to look at.
What numbers did you give again, though?
Okay, so
Precision epoxy is 7,500.
it's 7,500 for precision. The original one says the 10,620, but that includes the Cove base.
Okay.
We're going to have the red shirt program with the sheriff's department. They're going to remove the floor, and then maintenance will help, and we'll probably end up putting the Cove base down ourselves. It's easy enough, so might not get done right away, but we'll get it done pretty quick. So yeah, those are the 3 bids. Anybody have any comments or questions, Mr. Steiner?
What's the lifespan expectation on this floor?
15 years.
15?
And that'll just start showing somewhere, and then you could always get patchwork done, but this stuff lasts a long time.
But I say, if this stuff's done right, I mean, granted, coming in the back door with the biggest thing is going to be tracking in salt
Yeah.
and things like that. Other than that, that floor should last much into 25 plus.
And one of the things that, if you don't mind, Mr.
Oh, go ahead.
Supervisor, is that when this project is done, we're going to put down runners to protect the flooring from the chairs. That's the biggest culprit of the damage. Not any intent of anybody, but you take a roller chair, and if you don't put a protective guard underneath it, you're going to destroy whatever you put it on in a matter of time. So, and just so it, and I'll just kind of segue off to what Supervisor Peroni said. So our goal here is we'll supply some inmate manpower. I asked that the township just kind of supervise the operation of removing all the workstations and the tile, and then we'll supply the man-hour labor and an individual to supervise the trustees. We just were asking maybe the township people be kind of the coordinator of that, the demolition process, if you would.
And they're starting that this Friday, just to kind of get the ball rolling, not in the offices. They're going to do the hallways, some of the entrance of the locker rooms, and then the refrigerator where that area is at. But they're going to go as far as they can in the offices without disturbing anything. And then once the ball gets rolling, they're ready to do the job, then we'll really tear out the offices, and they'll go mobile in their cars for, till the job's done.
And the biggest thing will be the demolition. The crew that I've had contact with a number of them, and this will be a pretty quick job to get. The demolition will be the longest process, and then they have to stay off of it for 48 hours once it is coated. That's 0-foot traffic. And the only thing I would add is, I know Mr. Peroni said we put the Cove on. I would recommend, because we're going to put these workstations back in, that we just do it all at one full swoop, and then we'll be done with it. And like I said, we'll do our very best to get as much inmate labor here and make quick work of the project as we can.
Very cool. Well, I think it's a pretty easy decision for me, because we do have one local guy on this bids, and that's Andrew Bernat. He works for this company. He's a local guy, veteran. In my opinion, for $500, I think we should stick with as much local as we can. So I'm going to make a motion that we go with Precision in the amount of $7,500 to grind and install the floor, the epoxy floor.
Support.
Okay, motion is supported by Mr. Gore. Any more discussion?
I would add that they're, I think, it's not 100%, but more than just Mr. Bernard, our overwhelming majority of their entire company are Bedford guys, like you said, veteran supported, and then I would add, I saw a 5-year warranty with Precision as well, and I didn't see any warranties with anyone else, so that's all I would add.
Any more discussion? Could you call the roll, please?
Mr. Peroni.
Aye.
Mr. Gore.
Aye.
Mr. Steiner.
Aye.
Mr. Bruning.
Aye.
Mr. Montry.
Aye.
Ms. Jandisek.
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye.
And the motion passed 7-0. Sheriff, thank you for he put all these bids together and did all the legwork and brought it to the board, so thank you very much, appreciate it. Okay, item 8G, Principles of Governance Resolution, Ms. Hirschberger?
The MTA has sent us this resolution. They send one every time a new board is elected, so it's up to this board whether or not we want to approve the Bedford Township Principles of Governance.
Does this mean we have to behave ourselves?
Yes.
That was a joke.
I know.
Okay, any discussion, comments? If not, I look for a motion.
I'd add,
Is that your motion?
no.
Oh,
I think the overwhelming text included here is, I think, appropriate and I'm a fan of. But there are some things in here that I have no interest in approving. I think specifically the last line, if you took out democratic government, I'd be all for that. And then I don't know what I think about the strive for compliance with all state and federal statutory requirements. I pledge an oath to the Constitution and the Constitution of the state of Michigan, but I don't know what I think about that line. So, as is, I will not be in support of it. And then, like I said, the last line, we said the Pledge of Allegiance before this meeting and every other meeting, and we don't say "into the democracy to which it stands." This country is not having the term democratic government in that line is, I think, inappropriate. I'm all for furthering the understanding of the obligations and responsibilities of American citizenship and freedom. I'm all about it. But that's my view on this, and I don't know. I don't necessarily think that just because MTA sends down a document that we have to approve it either. But
any more comments? Or?
Yeah, what's this for? This is just MTA wants us,
Okay.
like, what's the purpose of this? This is just MTA wants us to approve this for them?
Sometimes the residents look at what do we follow? What is our governance? What are our principles? And so MTA sends this saying, here's something you can use. Doesn't necessarily mean we have to use it exactly how it's written, but this is one that they send us saying, this is what you can use to pledge to your residents that this is what you're going to follow.
We could change whatever we want.
Yes.
Can we
just
table
a
this
template.
and send you suggested changes?
Yeah. Yeah, this is
I'm with Craig. I
no
wouldn't
hurry
approve
at
Okay.
all.
Okay, can I look for a motion?
Move to table 8G Principles of Government Resolution.
support.
Okay, supported. Discussion.
Was that
So-
supported by Craig? Okay.
Yes. So who is going to take the suggestions? Ms. Hirschberger, are you going to take the
Yeah,
suggestions?
you can send the suggestions to
Are you
me.
going to rewrite it then, or?
Yeah, I'll see if they'll send it to me in Word or something and we can retype it.
Okay, so.
Don't go crazy, though.
It's
I don't want to rewrite the whole thing.
It's got to be in a frame on the wall.
So we have to start with this document, at least.
It would be nice. It would be
fine.
nice if you could just,
Okay, could you call the roll, please?
Can I just get a date, table it till when?
Want to say the
I would say 2 meetings.
September meeting or the
First
second
meeting
meeting?
of August.
I won't be here the first meeting of
oh, okay.
August.
Do the second meeting of August. Give you plenty of time.
Second meeting of August is the 17th. I will not be here.
Let's
Can we
do
do
the
the first meeting
of
of
September?
September?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
Great.
Could you call the roll?
Craig, you're good with that? Okay. Mr. Gore?
Aye.
Mr. Montroy?
Aye.
Mr. Steiner?
Aye.
Mr. Bruning?
Aye.
Ms. Jandesak?
Aye.
Hirschberger votes aye. Mr. Peroni?
Aye, the motion passed 7-0. Item 9, comments from the public. Comments limited to 2 minutes for each individual. Come on up.
Hello, Ann Carmel, 1433 Tennyson Drive.
Is that mic, is the green light on the mic?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The base.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah. I just wanted to point out, I'm a little bit confused. There was no planning commission appointment for this evening, and I wanted to read the note that I had gotten from Mr. Goldsmith a couple months ago. He had said, the Planning Enabling Act requires the supervisor to make appointments to the Planning Commission subject to the approval of the full board. I have advised the supervisor to continue making appointments of qualified individuals until common ground can be reached. As long as he continues to make appointments, he is fulfilling his statutory duty. Likewise, the full board is fulfilling its statutory duty by evaluating each appointment and voting on whether the appointment in each board member's independent judgment should be approved. I'm an optimistic person. I like to think the best of people, so at this point I'll continue to be optimistic that an appointment will be made and approved in the near future. As far as the process for resolving this current stalemate, there is none that I'm aware of. If the supervisor refused to make an appointment, that conduct could be reported to the governor's office. That has not occurred, so that remedy is not available. So I'm just confused as to why that didn't happen tonight, and if that constitutes a refusal to suggest an appointment. On another note, I also wanted to point out that Mr. Monroe was actually not even at the last Library Advisory Board meeting, and he did not send a replacement. And in this citizen's opinion, he's being kind of pointlessly obstructionist. And as someone with 2 kids who frequents the library, and Craig, who has a child who I hope someday will visit this library, I would like to think that he would be much more supportive. It's getting kind of frankly offensive to watch him just basically obstruct and then not bring up any kind of issues that he's having during the meeting and then come and talk to you all in public about these things without discussing it with them. It looks like he's not on their side, and I am looking forward to the day when he is not the liaison.
Thank you for your comments. Have a great night. Any more comments from the public? Oh, come on up.
Jim Krieger, P.O. Box 281, Lambertville. I just got one short, quick question, and I've been in and out of town, so if I missed it, please accept my apology. Why was the decision, and who made the decision to move the 4th of July party to August 27th? Just wanted to know who made the decision and why. And if I missed it, I'm sorry.
Okay. Thank you for your comments. Have a great night.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any more comments from the public? Okay. Seeing none. Comments from township board members. Mr. Steiner?
I'm good for this evening, thank you.
Okay. Mr. Montrak? Mr. Gore?
I hope everybody had a safe 4th of July, and again, congratulations to Ken Dodds, an excellent choice for Deputy of the Year. I knew him when he was a brand new rookie, and to see how he's come along, he's going to go a long way with the Sheriff's Department. So congratulations, Ken. And that's all.
Mr. Bruning?
Nothing new. Hope everyone had a good 4th. Great job, Dodds. Other than that, have a good weekend, everybody.
I'll say it too. Congratulations. Thank you for your service to this community. That's a park board decision to change the date of the fireworks. They made that call the day the fireworks are supposed to be launched. It was $1,500 for them to bring the semis down here and to send them back. So if they did bring them down again the next day and they had to send them back again, it'd be another $1,500. So they made a good choice, in my opinion. It was a gamble to delay it one day because the forecast showed a lot of rain. The reason they picked August 27th was, I believe, so it'd be a great community event on the home opener of the first football game. We missed the 4th of July, and we wouldn't be able to have fireworks for a while. And just so you know, this is a park board decision, but I was at the meeting just as a bystander. They're booked for weeks, from 4th of July on, so there's not many options. So they wanted to pick a good event. So that's kind of how they got there. Adel Road is progressing very nicely. Should be done very shortly. I sit on a pillar team called 734 Launch with the county, with the BDC oversees it. They received $120,000 in grant funds and is now finalizing the program to help existing businesses and new entrepreneurs in Monroe County. Tim Lake's group has spearheaded this and is looking forward to maybe some new businesses, startups in Bedford. I want to thank Mike Langton, who heads up the Red Shirt program, on helping tear up the floor and to save us money. We really appreciate the work they're going to be doing this at the end of the week. I want to thank Connie Veliquette and Joyce Blanton for all their hard work with weeding and planting native plants in front of the Township Hall. They've been around a long time, and they just never stop. You know, you go out front and you see them, and they're weeding and planting native plants. We just really appreciate that. It's hard to get great volunteers like that to do hard labor. So, the animal control is seeking kitty litter and dog food, and cat food. So if you could donate to them, we'd appreciate it. I want to congratulate the golf coach Brad Reed on being named Monroe County Golf Coach of the Year. He led Monroe County, Bedford to Monroe County Championship. And lastly, I want to congratulate Gage Keene on Monroe County Region Boys Golfer of the Year. So, I went out of turn for comments, didn't I?
Yeah.
For the first time. How did I do that? Ms. Hirschberger? Or Ms. Janzek? I'm all goofed up now.
I just want to congratulate Deputy Dodds. Good job. And I want to tell everybody that, yes, your tax bills are out. They are due September 14th. If you have any questions, just give my department a call. Have a great week.
I know what it was. It was going through. I was going right down the row. Ms. Hirschberger?
I too want to congratulate Ken Dodds and let this board know that the sheriff's vehicle that was in an accident has been repaired. It was covered completely by our insurance company, and I believe it is back in the fleet or will be soon. And then, I'm sorry? Yes, okay, good. And then let the board know that right now I have the insurance company and I'm trying to get quotes to fix the cemetery fence, the old Bedford Cemetery on Samaria Road. The fence was hit, so I know about it and we are trying to get quotes to get that repaired, and that will also be done through the insurance.
Are we looking into, or are you looking into doing some crack sealing in the new Bedford cemetery?
Yes.
Lewis, you are looking at
Yes.
that? Okay. It definitely needs it this year before the winter. And
Yes.
are you done with your comments?
Yes.
And Mr. Goldsmith, can you speak to the Planning Commission appointment? If I am out of order or in violation, please let me know.
Not in my opinion. You need to keep making appointments subject to the, I think this is the first meeting since the beginning of the year where an appointment has not been made by you subject to the approval of the full board. So I don't think you are in violation of the statute or the law or policy or procedure.
But is there a law that says I have to bring an appointment?
No, it's fully within your discretion who you appoint, but it's subject to the approval of the full board.
All right, thank you very much. Any more comments from board members? Okay, seeing none, I look for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, support. Okay, we are adjourned.